There, you're safe now.
Thank you, sir.
Children, I've brought someone home,
Hello. An orphan boy? He's staying with us.
if I may.
The story begins in the wild and lonely moors of England at a dark, storm-beaten house called Wuthering Heights. The novel opens with a visitor named Mr. Lockwood, who rents a nearby estate called Thrushcross Grange. Curious about his mysterious landlord, Heathcliff, he visits Wuthering Heights and immediately feels the cold, tense atmosphere of the house. The people inside seem strange, distant, and emotionally troubled. After a frightening night at the house, Lockwood returns to Thrushcross Grange, where the housekeeper, Nellie Dean, begins telling him the long and tragic history of the families connected to Wuthering Heights. Many years earlier, the master of Wuthering Heights, Mr. Earnshaw, brought home a dark-haired orphan boy from Liverpool. He named him Heathcliff. Mr. Earnshaw treated Heathcliff like his own son, which caused jealousy in his biological son, Hindley Earnshaw. However, his daughter, Catherine Earnshaw, formed a deep and wild bond with Heathcliff. They spent their childhood running across the moors, laughing, fighting, and sharing a fierce connection that felt almost like one soul in two bodies. When Mr. Earnshaw died, Hindley became the master of the house. Bitter and resentful, he treated Heathcliff cruelly, forcing him to live as a servant rather than as family. Heathcliff suffered humiliation and hardship, but his emotional world revolved entirely around Catherine. As Catherine grew older, she met Edgar Linton, the refined and wealthy young man from Thrushcross Grange. After an accident that forced her to stay with the Linton family for weeks, she became influenced by their elegant lifestyle. She began to enjoy luxury, social status, and refinement. Although Catherine passionately loved Heathcliff, she made a decision that would change everything. She agreed to marry Edgar Linton, not because she loved him more, but because he was rich and socially respectable. She believed marrying Heathcliff would degrade her status. However, she famously confessed to Nellie, "I am Heathcliff." She explained that her love for Heathcliff was eternal and part of her soul, while her love for Edgar was like the pleasure of beautiful scenery, pleasant but temporary. Unfortunately, Heathcliff overheard only the part where Catherine said marrying him would degrade her. Heartbroken and feeling betrayed, he ran away from Wuthering Heights without telling anyone where he was going. Catherine was devastated when she realized he had left. Soon after, she married Edgar Linton and moved to Thrushcross Grange. But the emotional storm inside her never truly calmed. 3 years later, Heathcliff suddenly returned, mysteriously wealthy, educated, and determined. He was no longer the poor, humiliated boy. He came back with a dark purpose: revenge. And this is where the real tragedy begins. When Heathcliff returns after 3 years, everything begins to change. He is no longer the poor, mistreated boy. He comes back as a wealthy and confident man, but inside, his heart is full of pain and revenge. His first target is Hindley Earnshaw. Hindley has become weak, depressed, and addicted to gambling and drinking after his wife's death. Heathcliff uses this weakness cleverly. He lends Hindley money again and again, encouraging his gambling habits. Slowly, Hindley falls deeper into debt. Eventually, Heathcliff gains control of Wuthering Heights by taking possession of the property through Hindley's unpaid debts. The house that once rejected him now legally belongs to him. But Heathcliff's revenge does not stop there. He begins visiting Thrushcross Grange frequently, where Catherine now lives with her husband Edgar Linton. His presence creates emotional tension in the peaceful home. Edgar dislikes Heathcliff and senses the dangerous bond between him and Catherine. However, Catherine is emotionally torn. She still deeply loves Heathcliff, and their meetings awaken powerful feelings. To hurt Edgar, Heathcliff starts paying attention to Edgar's sister, Isabella Linton. Isabella is young, naive, and quickly becomes fascinated by Heathcliff's dark personality. Catherine warns her that Heathcliff is cruel and incapable of real love, but Isabella refuses to listen. Heathcliff sees an opportunity. He pretends to return Isabella's affection, not because he loves her, but because marrying her would give him power over the Linton family. Eventually, he elopes with Isabella and marries her. After marriage, Isabella realizes the terrible mistake she has made. Heathcliff treats her coldly and cruelly. He openly tells her that he only married her to take revenge on Edgar. Isabella suffers greatly and becomes miserable at Wuthering Heights, where violence and anger dominate the atmosphere. Meanwhile, Catherine's emotional health begins to collapse. She feels trapped between her husband and her soulmate. The stress causes her to become physically ill. She stops eating and falls into a state of fever and mental breakdown. Edgar tries to care for her, but the conflict between him and Heathcliff grows worse. Finally, Catherine gives birth to a daughter, Cathy Linton, but the childbirth weakens her severely. Knowing she is dying, Catherine asks to see Heathcliff one last time. Their final meeting is intense, heartbreaking, and full of raw emotion. Catherine accuses Heathcliff of breaking her heart. Heathcliff accuses her of betraying him, yet beneath the anger, their love burns stronger than ever. Catherine dies shortly after giving birth. Her death completely destroys whatever humanity was left in Heathcliff. Standing beside her body, he prays desperately, not for peace, but for her ghost to haunt him forever. He says he cannot live without her and begs her spirit to never leave him alone. From that moment on, Heathcliff becomes even darker. His revenge is no longer just about property or pride, it becomes something deeper and more destructive. And the tragedy now moves to Heathcliff the next generation. Completely. He becomes colder, harsher, and more obsessed than ever. But instead of finding peace, he feels empty. His revenge is still unfinished. The next stage of the story shifts to the children of the two families. Hindley Earnshaw soon dies, broken by addiction and despair. His young son, Hareton Earnshaw, is left alone. Heathcliff now has full control of Wuthering Heights. Instead of raising Hareton kindly, he deliberately treats him the same cruel way Hindley once treated him. Heathcliff denies Hareton education and forces him to work like a servant. This is his way of taking revenge on Hindley, even after death. Meanwhile, Isabella escapes from Heathcliff's cruelty and gives birth to a sickly son named Linton Heathcliff. She raises him away from Wuthering Heights. But after Isabella dies years later, Edgar Linton brings the boy to Thrushcross Grange. However, Heathcliff demands custody of his son, and legally, he has the right. Linton is forced to live at Wuthering Heights with his cold, selfish father. Unlike Heathcliff, young Linton is weak, spoiled, and selfish. He is not strong like Hareton, nor kind like Catherine. Heathcliff does not truly love him. Instead, he sees him as another tool for revenge. Edgar Linton's daughter, Cathy Linton, grows up sweet, intelligent, and curious, much like her mother. She is protected and raised carefully at Thrushcross Grange. But as she grows older, she becomes curious about the world beyond her home. One day, Cathy secretly visits Wuthering Heights and meets Hareton and Linton Heathcliff. She does not know they are connected to her family history. At first, she looks down on Hareton because he seems rough and uneducated. Hareton secretly admires her but feels ashamed of his lack of knowledge. Heathcliff sees another opportunity. He forces Cathy and Linton to spend time together, encouraging a relationship between them. Linton, weak and easily influenced, obeys his father. Cathy slowly feels sympathy for him because of his fragile health. When Edgar becomes seriously ill, Heathcliff traps Cathy at Wuthering Heights and forces her to marry Linton. His plan is clear. Once Edgar dies, Cathy will inherit Thrushcross Grange. And since she will be married to Linton, Heathcliff's son, the property will legally become Heathcliff's. Edgar dies heartbroken, unaware of the full manipulation. Soon after, Linton Heathcliff also dies due to his poor health. With both deaths, Heathcliff finally gains control of both Wuthering Heights and Thrushcross Grange. He has achieved his revenge. But something unexpected begins to happen. Now only 3 young people remain at Wuthering Heights: Cathy, Hareton, and Heathcliff himself. Cathy is bitter and unhappy at first. Hareton remains uneducated but loyal. Over time, Cathy begins to see Hareton's good heart. She regrets mocking him in the past. Slowly, she starts teaching Hareton how to read and improve himself. Through patience and kindness, a gentle bond forms between them, something pure and hopeful, unlike the destructive passion between Catherine and Heathcliff. As Cathy and Hareton grow closer, Heathcliff begins to feel strange. Instead of anger, he feels exhaustion. He starts seeing Catherine's face in both of them. The fire of revenge that once burned inside him begins to fade. He stops eating, he wanders the moors at night, he speaks of seeing Catherine's ghost. His obsession becomes spiritual rather than violent. He no longer cares about property or control. Finally, Heathcliff is found dead in Catherine's old room with a strange, peaceful expression on his face, as if he has finally reunited with her beyond death. At the end of the story, Cathy and Hareton plan to marry and move to Thrushcross Grange, leaving behind the dark history of Wuthering Heights. The cycle of hatred ends with them. The story closes with the image of three graves on the quiet moors: Catherine, Edgar, and Heathcliff, resting together under the endless sky. After Linton Heathcliff's death, the house of Wuthering Heights becomes strangely quiet. Heathcliff has finally achieved everything he once wanted. Both estates belong to him, and the Earnshaw and Linton families have suffered deeply. Yet instead of satisfaction, he feels empty. His revenge has brought him no peace. Cathy Linton, now a young widow, lives at Wuthering Heights under Heathcliff's authority. At first, she is bitter, lonely, and resentful. Hareton Earnshaw still behaves roughly, but something begins to change between them. Cathy slowly notices Hareton's silent loyalty and natural goodness. Though he lacks education, he has honesty and strength. One day, Cathy realizes she has been unfair to him. She apologizes and offers to teach him how to read and improve himself. At first, Hareton feels ashamed and angry, but he accepts her help. Their lessons become moments of warmth inside the cold house. For the first time in the story, love grows without pride, revenge, or obsession. Their relationship is gentle and healing, the opposite of Catherine and Heathcliff's destructive passion. Meanwhile, Heathcliff becomes more withdrawn. He stops caring about money, property, or control. He spends long hours staring into space or walking alone on the moors. He begins speaking to Catherine as if she is beside him. He says he feels her presence everywhere, in the wind, in the sky, in the earth. He confesses that his revenge no longer matters. The only thing that matters is being reunited with Catherine. He sleeps. His servants notice a strange light in his eyes, both wild and peaceful. It is as if he is already living between the world of the living and the dead. One stormy night, Heathcliff disappears into Catherine's old room. The next morning, he is found dead near the open window, rain blowing inside. His face carries a calm, almost joyful expression, as if he has finally found what he longed for all his life. The villagers whisper that they see the ghosts of Heathcliff and Catherine wandering together on the moors. Whether true or not, the idea suggests that their souls are finally united. After Heathcliff's death, the atmosphere of Wuthering Heights changes completely. Cathy and Hareton plan to marry and move to Thrushcross Grange. The dark house that once held hatred and revenge is left behind. The younger generation breaks the cycle of cruelty. The novel ends quietly. Mr. Lockwood visits the graves of Catherine, Edgar, and Heathcliff. They lie side by side under the peaceful sky. The wind blows gently across the grass. And the reader is left with a powerful message. Love can be eternal, but when mixed with pride, jealousy, and revenge, it becomes destructive. Only forgiveness and kindness can truly bring peace.